All right, guys. Today we have a very special guest, Jack Wood. He's joining us all the way from the UK, and we're gonna go over the new Planet Eclipse Geo3. How are you doing today?
Hello. How you doing, Tommy?
I'm doing good. You look a bit hot over there.
Yeah, very hot and sweaty. Yeah, it's 90 degrees in the office today.
Well, it's not that kind of interview, so don't stress too much about it.
Okay.
All right, let's get down to business. Uh, so on the Geo 3, it's got new eye plates. Was there any reason behind the front part that kicks off to the bottom?
No, nothing apart from aesthetics. There's nothing under that front piece. It's just machined so the eye cover can slot into the body of that place there. Um, no, definitely no reason for it. Just try and change up the styling a bit. With the eye covers, they're always in the same place every year. Obviously, the eye covers hold the D10 down
Mm-hmm.
and have the eye that looks through into the breech there. So they're always in the same place every year. So it's quite hard to come up with something different to do to make it look different and make the different models appear different to each other. And this year, that's just the style we came up with. Just kick the front piece forward. So does nothing. You pull the eye cover off, you'll see there's nothing underneath there.
Oh, cool. All right. So I noticed that the Geo 3 is coming with two bolts this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Basically, there's a hard nose and a soft nose bolt in there. The soft nose is the new one for this year. The hard one is just an updated version for the Geo 3 of the bolt head that we had in the GST for the Geo 1, and we used in the Geo 2 and 2.1 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it has the slots and the hole in the center at the front and the chamfered face. But it's all aluminium construction, hard anodized. Whereas the new one is hard anodized aluminium body with a single center port all the way through. And then at the head, it's got a clip-on tip, full rubber tip, that makes contact with the ball and also makes contact with the second ball in the stack. So helps reduce impact on the second ball coming into the breech and also the ball that it's loading into the barrel.
Okay. So I guess if you're playing, MPPL or PSP with the most fragile paint, you probably want to be using that soft tip, huh?
Yeah. That's obviously designed to shoot the most fragile paint. It'll definitely work best shooting the most fragile paint. The harder one, we are actually getting slightly better efficiency figures out of that one. So if you were wanting to go for the ultimate number of shots, then you really need to be going with the hard bolt. If you just want to shoot the most fragile, then you want to go with the softer one.
Okay. So out of the two, which one do you mainly use?
I use the softer one.
Okay.
I don't really shoot average paint anyway, so the softer one's easy for me.
So you're a sniper, huh?
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, good. All right. So the SFR solenoid adjuster. What everybody's asking me where they should set it at. What do you recommend?
Okay, so what the SFR does basically is control the bolt speed, the forward bolt speed on the Geo. So in the past, we just exhausted all the air out of the front of the bolt, which allowed the bolt to move forward. And we weren't really, we did control it in a way to slow it down, but it was obviously never adjustable. The new one allows you to decide how fast you want the bolt to move forwards. Obviously, the faster you move it forwards, the higher your rate of fire is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the slower you move it forward, slower your rate of fire is going to be. But there are some benefits from going slowly. Obviously, you're loading the paintball into the breech a lot more gently by going slowly, so you can shoot more fragile paint. There are other side effects, are that it makes the gun feel less harsh, like it has less kick, and it also reduces the sound signature as the gas is released from the firing chamber slightly more slowly. Um, uh, Other benefit from going slow is that because the bolt is moving forward slower and dumping the firing chamber slightly more slowly, the sprung-loaded core inside the bolt system can actually react and reserve more air after each shot, so you do actually get better efficiency from going slowly. So I think the vast majority of the people are going to be shooting with the SFR all the way down on the minimum setting, because you do get the benefits of it being quieter, gentler feel, more gentle on paint, and more efficient. The only downside is that you can't shoot at really high rates of fire, but you can still shoot very easily at 12.5 BPS, which is what most people need anyway, just to be able to shoot 12.5.
Sure. So with the new improvements in the Geo3 over the 2.1s, is there any changes to maintenance?
Maintenance differences from this year to previous Geos is that if you are running the slow bolt speed, if you're going to run with the SFR all the way down at a minimum setting, you are going to have to look after the maintenance of the gun considerably better than you have had to in the past. If you want a super reliable gun and a gun that will work time after time, just pulling it out of your bag, not doing any maintenance, not cleaning it, not lubing it, then you need to have the bolt speed set at a higher speed. It gives more chance and more chance for the bolt to reach a forward stroke every single shot, which is what makes it more reliable. Mm-hmm. By tuning the SFR all the way down, you do have to be careful that you're getting really close to the operating tolerance of the gun, in that you've literally just got enough time for the bolt to get all the way forward, fire the shot before it starts to withdraw back. If you slow the bolt down at all by adding in debris, by neglecting the maintenance or the lubing of the bolt, then you'll start to get, first of all, inconsistent velocities. Then you'll start getting first shot drop off as the stiction builds up, particularly on the first shot, and eventually you'll start getting lower and lower velocity until you get to zero velocity. So, not saying that it's still that it's maintenance crazy. It's not like you have to do it in between every point, but in the past with the Geo you could go months without having to lube the bolt.
Sure.
And now you want to be doing it once a month.
Oh, that's still not bad.
It's not horrendous. It's definitely manageable. Just don't expect to be able to leave it for months on an end in your kit bag and then pull it out and it to be working flawlessly.
Roughly from a block of aluminum to a finished product, Geo, how long would you say that process takes?
Well, that's really only half the story. From taking the block of aluminium to turning it into a complete gun, you're about 7 or 8 weeks really from on the machine, getting the first set of operations, which is for the Geo3. Take a block of aluminium, rectangular block of aluminium. We put all the bores in and make what we call like a billet or a functioning block. So it has bores in, has all the holes in for the eye covers, has a feed tube, has all the interface for the frame and the solenoid on the bottom, but it's just flat-sided and flat-topped. Then we 3D machine one side, flip it over, 3D machine the other side, and then do the top. So all of that takes each batch. You run at so many, like 100 or 200 bodies at a time through that process. Each process to do so many bodies takes a few days. And then once the bodies have been machined, they get shipped up to us, where we then send them to bead blasters to have the satin finished on the outside. They come back to us, then we send them to the anodizers, and they come back into us, and then they get assembled and tested and packaged and shipped. So that period takes about 7 to 8 weeks. From actually deciding you want to make a gun, the time period is more like 20 weeks, because actually the longest lead time item is getting the aluminium itself. You have to use we use a very specific grade of aluminium, and we buy it all from the same foundry every time, so that we know its exact mechanical properties and its qualities, anodizing quality. And that's the longest. That can take anything up to 16 weeks from saying, right, we need some aluminium to start machining some bodies. Let's order some. Can take about 16 weeks before that's even at the machine shop ready to start machining into gun bodies.
Wow.
So So
And
a lot longer than most people think.
and then for the end users that don't know, if you had a different grade of aluminum, the anodizing would actually come back possibly a different color from shade to
Yes.
shade.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So that
Yeah.
quality control there has to be very high.
It does. Yeah. And it's there's so many different. Everybody just thinks you say like 6061 T6 aluminium and think that's it, but in reality, there's aluminium that comes from Russia, Switzerland, China. You can buy aluminium ore from all different places all over the world. Then they come from different foundries, and they're actually have slightly different chemical properties in each type of aluminium, and they all come out a very different shade once you actually put them through the anodizing process. And it's if you don't monitor it closely, it's a complete pain trying to make it match all the other parts.
So the Geo3 is actually a tiny bit lighter than the Geo2. Where were y'all able
Yeah.
to shave that off from?
Um, yeah, it's only a little bit lighter. It's about 20 or 30 grams lighter than a Geo2. Um, there's a few places the weight has come off. There's the actual interface between the frame and the body's moved up a bit.
Hmm.
The solenoid is now partially inside the body and partially outside the body, so there's a bit of weight saving from around that area. Round the front, around the top of the reg, that's been machined out a bit. The styling is slightly different. There's not been a huge amount taken from any one specific place. If anywhere, it's probably at the top of the grip frame where the grip frame meets the body. That's all been moved up, and that's where the new geometry comes from for moving the frame up. So that's probably where most of the weights come from, but it's not something we originally set out to say we want to make this gun lighter than the last one. It just happens to have come out like that. If it had come out 20 grams heavier, we wouldn't have stopped the whole project and gone back to the drawing board. It would just been, this is how much it weighs, and it was just a nice surprise this time that it came out lighter. But it's not something we actively went out to do. We got to the stage a couple of years ago where really you're just messing around with a few grams at the moment. Everything's down to quite a minimal weight already, and you're just messing around with different styles. And if it comes out slightly heavier one year and slightly lighter the year after, that's just the way it is at the moment.
Sure.
And until we change massively the materials that we're using, I don't think you're going to see significant changes in weights of guns over the next couple of years.
How many more shots should the end user expect over the Geo2 versus the Geo3? Or the Geo3 versus the Geo2?
Improvements in the efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Really hate giving out any kind of efficiency numbers these days. It doesn't seem to make any difference what we do here. It's very rarely repeatable for the customer. Sometimes we get better figures here and the customer gets worse figures, and sometimes it's the other way around. We don't see great gains in some things we do and we put them in customers' hands and they suddenly get a huge increase in efficiency. So really don't want to go actually saying, giving this is exactly how many shots. There's enough guns out there now that people are starting to do their own efficiency testing and they'll get their own sets of figures. What we can say is that obviously we're quite happy with the improvement that we made from Geo2 to Geo3 in terms of efficiency. One of the main things that we're happy with is the repeatability of the efficiency of Geo3. Anybody who plays on a team with 3 or 4 or 5 Geo2s in one team will see that from gun to gun there's quite a big variance. Some guns seem to perform really well, other guns seem to struggle to match the performance of other guns. Even if you tweak some of the settings, you still end up with a gun that doesn't seem to be as efficient as another gun even on the same team. What we've done with the Geo3 is the way the solenoid works. We much more tightly control the exhaust gases and the filling of the firing chamber, and it's a much more repeatable process now with the new Generation 2 ISIS valve. So we're much happier with that. We're also much happier in the way that the sprung-loaded core works in the bolt system to reserve air when you're running at the slower bolt speeds, like I mentioned before. So both those things actually work to give all the guns generally much better efficiency than the Geo2. So
Sure.
we're quite happy with that, and I think people will see. The pro teams that were using the guns at the first few events, they were really happy with what they're getting and felt confident going out with several more pods than they were used to with the Geo. So that was a good sign straight away.
I guess a lot of it's also going to depend on how they have or which bolt and how they have the solenoid adjuster set up
Yeah,
at.
exactly. Yeah, there is just like another element of adjustability there, and it's going to be another one of those things where you're going to get some guys, I'm sure, say, "Oh, I get this many pods," another guy goes, well, I get this many pods out of the gun." And unless you're comparing like for like, and you're actually stood there on the same day with the same tanks, the same paint, the same barrels, all the settings identical, it's not really a fair comparison. So I think each person's going to just go off and find their own optimum settings for their gun and get the figures that they feel most comfortable with.
Sure. Okay, with this last question is probably the one of the most asked questions. How come you didn't go with the macro-less design on the Geo3?
Yeah, I have been asked this before a few times,
Yeah.
And we just do it for you, Tommy. That's why we do it.
Oh, well, thank you.
We do it. We do it the way we do, just for you. No, it's because, as you know, if you get a leak inside the gun, this is one of the main reasons. Is the one that I keep coming back to, and the one that every time we review it internally, it's the one that people keep saying, "Well, can you fix this problem?" And at the moment, we don't have certainly something that we're 100% comfortable with putting out there and saying, "Yes, this is as good a solution as a macro line." And that's purely if you get a gun and you're the guy on the team, because there's always one guy on every team that ends up fixing everybody's guns, or they come to a tech like you.
Sure.
If you've got a leak inside the gun, inside the solenoid, or around the solenoid area, or from internal fitting inside the actual gun, if you need to pinpoint that leak, it's impossible to do it without the frame on the gun if you're running a macroless design. Certainly most of the guns that are out there, you need to have the frame attached to the gun in order to have the gun gassed up. And it's impossible to find that leak with the frame attached to the gun. With a macro hose like we use now, it's simple. You just disconnect the macro hose, remove the frame, reconnect the macro hose, put the tank back into the ASA, gas the gun up, and you've got full access to the whole bottom of the gun, the solenoid, all working parts of the gun you then have access to, and it makes it really easy to hunt down those infuriating little leaks that you get from time to time. So that's one of the main reasons. Other little reasons, personal ones, in order to get a hard line through a body, you have to surround it by metal. That metal weighs something. Really long holes from the front of a body to the back of a body are quite hard to do. Long holes through a frame are quite hard to do. They're quite time consuming. It's easier to route an airline with a flexible hose like a macro line, because you don't have to be bound by straight lines of drilled holes like you do internally in a gun. So at the moment, there's just enough little things that put us off going that way forward with the design. And not saying that we'll never ever do a macroless gun. I'm sure we will at some time when we come up with a system that we're 100% happy with, but it's not something that you're going to see on the Geo3.
Last question. Is there going to be any plan on making a SL version of the Geo3? Or adding a Geo3?
What you're talking about?
What?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, wink, wink.
What version of what?
SL94? I know there was the infamous SL91.
Yeah, there's SL91. Obviously, that's the only SL there's ever been, and there was only 10 of those.
Mine got lost in the mail, so there's only 9.
Yeah. Pardon?
I said mine got lost in the mail, so there's only 9.
Oh, no. So, yeah, obviously that's the only SL Geo there's ever been. I'd like to think there'll be an SL version of the Geo3, but it's can't say if there's going to be one or not for 100%. I don't have one designed up, put it that way.
Okay.
It's not something that you're going to see in the next few weeks.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and pick up a Geo3 then.
Well, definitely. Why shouldn't you be out there shooting one right now? So.
Well, maybe waiting for the SL version. But you put
No,
that
don't wait.
put
Just
that
go out and get Geo3 and go and shoot it and enjoy it. And if an SL version comes out, sell it and then buy an SL.
There you go. Okay. Well, thank you for spending a couple minutes with us and answering these questions. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Only thing really that I want to add, because I've been following it on the forums a bit, is just about the fact that the Geos are shipping every week. We're shipping quantities of guns out. I saw the other day somebody asking, can somebody confirm the release date for Geo3? The release date has come and gone, and since that date we have been shipping. Been shipping for the last few weeks, every week. So the product is getting there, and it is getting out to the dealers, but it's quite a slow process. This near the start of production, we don't just build up a backlog of several thousand guns just in a massive warehouse full of guns, and then on launch day just ship them all out. Near the start of production, it's very much hand to mouth, and as bodies come off the machine and roll through processing, anodizing, and assembly, they get shipped out as they come in. And other things for particularly the American guys to understand is that America is not the only country in the world, and we do ship this product all across the world. So we are fulfilling back orders in a strict order all across the world. The American, the Rhode Island guys have quite a strict back order system that they have to fulfill. So whenever your dealer that you placed an order with, wherever they are on our back order schedule, that's when they'll get their guns. If they contact their sales guys in Rhode Island, they should be able to give them quite an accurate idea about when their guns are due to be delivered to them. So there is a schedule in place, and it's sort of a first come first served. If you put an order in early on, then you'll get your guns earlier. If you waited and right up until launch time and then placed an order, you're probably down the line a bit. But we are shipping, and the guns will get to you eventually.
Good news.
Okay.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much.
Have you got one
What?
yet, Tommy?
No.
Yet, Tommy?
No, I haven't. I haven't got one yet.
Whose have you shot?
I shot a couple of the X Factor guys.
Yeah.
I shot
Like
Dixon's. Oh yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
They're
excited.
pretty good.
Yeah. The first two that we were able to get, we sent out. So I haven't had any guns into our store yet, but I'm ready. I'm waiting just like everybody else.
I'll get on to Mark. Phone Mark right now.
Okay.
Give him some grief.
I'll get on the horn.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, mate.
Well, thank you very much for spending a couple minutes with me.
No
And
problem at all.
I'll see you at World Cup.